Hello and welcome to this next lecture on my YouTube channel. Today's lecture is going to be about one of the most important topics in PSIR. Now you might say that I keep on saying this about every single topic, but the reality is if you look at the previous year question papers of PSIR, almost every single year you will see at least one question on Rawls' theory of justice. This is a theory given by John Rawls and is one of the most commonly asked questions in the PSIR paper. Now, as you know, many people throughout history have given their own theories of justice. They've tried to define justice in their own ways. For example, Plato, Aristotle, John Rawls, J.S. Mill, all of them have tried to define what exactly is justice in the society. However, if you look at all of them, the one that actually is suitable for our contemporary society, which can be practiced today to a certain extent, it has to be John Rawls. The reason is that he is not really an ancient philosopher. He is a philosopher who has been in our times. He has been a professor at some of the most famous universities in the world. That is why his concept of justice is used by many policymakers around the world even today to justify how their laws and policies are being made. As you know, in the theory of justice that he gave, there are two very important concepts that we'll be studying. For example, one of his concepts was the concept of original position, while the second important concept that he gave was a wheel of ignorance. In this class, we'll be discussing both of these concepts and the other principles of justice that he gave. Also, I would advise you to stay till the end of the class, because in the end we will also be seeing what are the previous year papers have in terms of the questions from this particular topic. Now, there are different ways to define justice and different people have defined justice in different ways in their own books. The theory of John Rawls has been taken from his book called A Theory of Justice. There are many people who have tried to give their definition of a perfect or ideal society. For example, when you look at Plato, he gave a concept of ideal society where there will be distribution of work between the different classes. There will be specialization of three different types. People doing their work properly would be an ideal society. For Aristotle, everyone taking part in politics, everyone doing their duty, being politically active would be a perfect society. Similarly, for John Rawls, in a perfect society, there are a lot of things that are found. However, out of all the virtues of a perfect or an ideal society, the most important virtue has to be justice. Now, please understand this. There are different ways in which justice is defined. For example, today, in common language between you and me, if I ask you what is justice, most people will say, sir, if someone breaks the law, you give him or her the punishment, that is justice. But this is a very narrow definition of justice. Justice is not just about punishing people who have done something wrong. Justice is also about policy making. Justice is about fairness. For example, if the government today makes a policy in which the government says 99% of water of India will be used by a few people and remaining all the people will depend on 1% of water. Is this justice? No, this is absolutely unjust. If the government says that all the government jobs will be given to people from only one religion and others are not eligible for government jobs, is this justice? Obviously not. So the definition of justice cannot be confined to just punishing people because they have broken the law or they have violated the law. The definition of justice goes way beyond that, includes policy making, includes how the government is run, includes the government's rules, government's working, so on and so forth. And this was the main focus of John Rawls when he gave his theory of justice. Now, John Rawls starts his theory by talking about the problem of distribution. See, in our society, there are different types of goods. There are certain goods which are limited in nature. Limited in the sense, wealth. Nowadays, even water, although earlier water was considered as an unlimited resource. Property. All these are limited resources. Then there are unlimited resources. Unlimited resources, for example, that are not consumed by anyone. Let's say justice, fairness, freedom. All these are unlimited resources. These are not over or consumed by anyone. For John Rawls, he said that when it comes to distribution of primary goods, now primary goods basically he meant these that are the unlimited sources. They have to be given to everyone. Everyone in the society should have an opportunity to make a better life for himself or herself. Also, he was one of the major critics of the principle of utilitarianism. We have earlier discussed about the culture of utilitarianism. Just in case you don't know, utilitarianism simply means when you are taking a certain decision as a government, the correct decision is the one that brings the most happiness to the maximum number of people. When you have to judge whether your decision is right or wrong, just see whether this decision is bringing the maximum happiness to the maximum number of people or not. If it is bringing maximum happiness to majority of the people, this is a good objective achieved. This is called utilitarianism. However, many people have spoken up against it, including John Rawls. Because as for John Rawls, if you follow the principle of utilitarianism, that means whatever the majority thinks will always be right. Whatever the minority thinks, that will never be taken into consideration. That is a big problem. The problem that the minority is facing cannot be overshadowed by the fact that the majority of the people are happy. Even if the majority of the people are happy, even then you have to take into consideration the view of the minority as well. Because if all your decisions are just based on the concept that the majority of the people should be happy, that maximum number of people should be happy, that means that you will never be able to achieve justice in the society. Let's take an example to understand this. When you buy a car in India, the life of the car is usually considered as 15 years. Because it is considered that after 15 years the car will be polluting the environment to a very large extent and the car will not be fit to be driven. Now, the people who have a car that have completed 15 years, they would want the car to continue. If the government tomorrow takes a decision that okay, you can drive your car, doesn't matter how old it gets, it might bring maximum happiness to the maximum number of people, because let's assume maximum number of people own a 15-year-old car. But the reality is the minority who are concerned for the environment will not be happy about it. But the principle of utilitarianism would say that no, this is a good decision. Similarly, let's assume there's a celebrity, an actor, actress, or a famous star who has committed a crime, but he or she has a big fan following. Because the majority of the people are the fans of the superstar, they would want the superstar to be released. Just because a minority is saying that no, he should not be released, a utilitarian government would still release the superstar. That is a problem with utilitarianism. Concept of justice cannot be based on the concept of majority versus minority. It cannot be based on the fact that because maximum people support this, this is a correct decision. John Rawls here says that when it comes to policy making, in order to make the correct policy, there are two concepts that have to be kept in mind. Now this is where his most important theory comes into picture. He says that there are two things that have to be practiced. Number one, original position, and second, the wheel of ignorance. Now let's try and understand what did he mean to say. John Rawls said that when a policy maker, let's say an MP, member of parliament, is making a law, let's assume the member of parliament is impartial, he or she is not taking any sides, he or she believes that they are making the best law possible for everyone. But even then, in reality, doesn't matter how good you are, doesn't matter what you think, The reality is you will never be able to make an unbiased law. He says the reason is that you will always think about what suits you. For example, I am a male, I live in an urban area. That means that knowingly or unknowingly, when I make a law, I will make sure the law is favorable to all the males who are living in urban areas. I will never make a law that goes against this particular group because this is what I am a part of. This is the problem that John Rawls had underlined. Now, how to come out of this problem? He gave two solutions, or rather a two-part solution. First part, he said, whoever is making the law should come in the original position. Now, what do you mean by original position? That means when I am making a law, I should not consider anything about myself. I should come in the original position. Now, hypothetically speaking, let me try and explain this to you. Hypothetically speaking, original position would be a time and a place where I am unaware about anything about myself. Hypothetically speaking, let's say you're about to be born. Now again, I'm saying hypothetically. You're about to be born and the God asks you, where would you like to be born? In which country, which city, urban, rural, etc. How would you like to be born? Male, female? Now, since you don't know anything about the advantages or disadvantages of being born in rural or urban, or being born in any country, or being born male or female, you might choose anything. That is the original position. Original position means a place, a time where you are unaware of any advantages or disadvantages that a specific position might have. Now obviously it's not practical, it's not feasible, but that is what his suggestion was. Secondly, he said that the people who are making the laws should be placed behind a veil of ignorance. Again, veil of ignorance means that they should be unaware of their own interests, of their own abilities, their own skills. Only when they are unaware about themselves, when they are unaware about what is to their advantage, what is to their disadvantage, only and only then would we see a situation where the people are actually making the perfect law for everyone in the society. This is how you can explain this. Let's assume these are the lawmakers. While making a law, they have to be placed behind a curtain or a wall, whatever you want to call it. This is the veil of ignorance. Because they don't know on the other side of the wall, who are they? Are they just a child? Are they an old man? Are they someone who is differently abled? Are they someone who is a male? Are they someone who is a female? Someone who is obese? So on and so forth. Only when the lawmakers place themselves in a position where they don't know anything about themselves, where they don't know what will be to their advantage, only and only then would they be able to make the perfect law. If you still did not understand this, let me explain this to you with a very simple example. Let's take this example. You go into a hotel room, or rather you go into a hotel and there are 10 rooms in the hotel. The hotel manager says, sir, we have a water shortage. So in total, we only have 10 liters of water. But we are giving you the option. You decide how do you want to distribute this 10 liters of water in each of the room. It depends entirely upon you. The only catch here is you don't know which one is your room. Once you distribute the water, after that you will be told which one was your room. Now think of it. What will you do? Again, the question is very simple. You have 10 liters of water. You have these 10 rooms. You can distribute this in whatever way that you want. No one is forcing anything upon you. But the only catch is one of this will be your room and you don't know which one. what will you do? In most of the cases, you will divide the water equally, right? You will distribute this 1 liter each in each and every room because you are preparing for the worst case scenario. Now, whichever room you get does not matter. This is what John Rawls was saying. This is how you can actually make the best law. This is how you ensure justice. If you would have known which one is your room out of these 10, you may have given more water to that room as compared to others. But now, because you did not know which one was going to be your room, you did not know where you would be spending the night, you made the perfect distribution. This is how wheel of ignorance, when put in front of you, allows you to make the best possible laws which are suitable not just for you but for the entire society. Apart from his concept of original position and the wheel of ignorance, he is also famous for giving two important principles. Now you might say, sir, on the screen we see 3 principles. There are just 2. This is the first one. Second and third actually are part of one single principle. So mainly there are 2 principles that he gave. First principle was principle of equal liberty. John Rawls said that in every society, everyone should have the basic liberty given to them irrespective of their background, their gender, their race, their caste, religion, so on and so forth. What are these basic liberties? Religious freedom, freedom of expression, equality before law, political rights, etc. These are a must for everyone. No one should be denied these on the basis of their religion, caste, finances, their identity. No one should be denied them. Second principle, he said that everyone should be given equal opportunity to acquire offices and positions. Everyone has a right to make a better life for himself. For that, they should all be allowed to work hard and they should all be allowed to participate. For example, in the UPSC examination, you should not be denied the opportunity to take the exam on the basis of your caste, religion, etc. So everyone should be allowed equal opportunity to acquire offices so that they can make a better life for themselves. There is a second part to this principle, that is the difference principle. He says that just in case it is not possible to give equal opportunity, in case it is not possible to have equal distribution of primary goods, then what do you do? In case it is impossible to have a proper equal distribution of primary goods in the society, as per John Rawls, now in this case, distribution should be done in such a manner that it favors those who are at the least advantageous position. Let me repeat. John Rawls said, just in case it is not possible to have equal distribution of primary goods in the society, what you need to do is distribute the goods in such a manner that those who are at the least advantageous position should get the goods first, or it should be done to their advantage. In some ways, you can also say that this is the basis of reservation. The reservation policies that we have in India can be justified on this difference principle of John Rawls. If you cannot distribute this equally, distribute this in such a manner that those who are at the least advantageous position are given the benefit in the distribution. Now, John Rawls explained and supported his theory by giving a principle of chain connection. When asked why is it that he is favoring those who are at a disadvantageous position, why is it that he is saying that goods should be distributed so that the people who are at the least advantage should get benefit out of it, his argument was, when you look at a chain, let's say you are using a chain to pull something, a chain is only as strong as the weakest link. If this is a big chain, the entire strength of the chain depends upon which is the weakest link in the entire chain. Let's assume this is the weakest link. Now, if this is the weakest link, if you pull the chain too much, it will be broken from here. That is why, for the chain to be safe, for someone who is using the chain, it is important to have the most focus on the weakest link. Unless you strengthen this, unless you identify what is the weakest link, unless you help them become stronger, the entire chain will break apart. Now consider the entire society as a chain. If the entire society is a chain, that means for the entire society, for the system to work, their weakest link, the weakest section of the society should be identified, they should be strengthened, and with that the entire society will be strengthened automatically. This is his theory of the chain connection. Again, the chain connection theory was a response that he gave when he was asked about why does he want to distribute goods in such a manner that it favors those who are at the least advantageous position. Just like all other theories, John Rawls' theory was also not away from criticism. There was a lot of criticism of his theory by different people, by different thinkers, by different theorists. The most interesting part is that he has been criticized by thinkers from all the different theories. It's not that only one of them criticized and said you are wrong. No, everyone said that you are wrong because his theory was interpreted by everyone in very different ways. Someone interpreted it as being supportive of liberty. Someone interpreted as this theory being supportive of capitalism. Someone interpreted this by saying that this is a position which favors a socialist rule. Because as you know, in socialism, the government's responsibility is towards the poor people. So many people said, oh, you are a socialist, you are favoring the social thinkers. So he was actually criticized by different sections of the society. Let's start by the criticism of the collectivists. Who are collectivists? Collectivists are those people who consider the society as one collective unit, who are not concerned about how one single individual feels. For example, if the entire society, most of them, the majority of them are happy, or majority of them support one decision, they will be happy to go ahead with it. And individuals' freedom and individuals' concern does not really bother the collectivists. These collectivists thought that John Rawls is actually supporting the capitalist system that exists right now. John Rawls has given an argument to accumulate wealth. John Rawls said that if wealth accumulation is allowed, it will trickle down and the poor will automatically be benefited out of it. Although John Rawls talked about the equality of opportunity, but even then, even if you give equality of opportunity, you will not be able to bridge the gap between the poor and the rich. Meaning that the collectivists were unhappy with John Rawls because he did not say what is his plan to eradicate the existing inequality in the society. If the society already has a wide gap between the rich and the poor, if the society already has two different sections of the society, if the society already has a few people who have accumulated all the wealth, how do you plan to take away that wealth and redistribute it to others? There is no clarity given on that by John Rawls. That is why the collectivists were not happy with him. Second criticism was about how do you identify who is at a disadvantage. If you remember, we just studied, he gave the difference principle, in which he said that if it is not possible to distribute the primary goods in such a manner that everyone has equal right over it, then distribution should be done in such a manner that those who are already at a disadvantage, they should be the one who should be given more of it. The problem here is how do you identify who are the disadvantaged? He never said disadvantage means poor. He never gave that definition. He never said disadvantage are those who are uneducated. He never said disadvantage are those, let's say, who belong to a specific caste. There is no definition given by John Rawls about who are the disadvantaged. Most people interpreted this by saying that the poor are the ones who are at the disadvantage. But it might not necessarily always be the poor people who are at a disadvantage. What about those who are suffering from some other trauma? What about those who are suffering from emotional insecurity? What about those who are alone and who don't have a family with them? What about those who have been victims of a crime? There is no proper definition by John Rawls about who are the people at disadvantage that he is talking about. Maybe if he would have cared to clarify who are these disadvantaged, his theory would have been more soundproof. Then there is criticism by Marxists. If you have read the theory of Marxism, you have read the thoughts of Karl Marx, you would know, for those who follow Marxism, you cannot take any decision of the society without considering the economic structure of the society. As per the Marxists, the society runs in such a manner that everything, politics, education, religion, every single thing depends upon the economic condition. As you know, Marxists believe that the society is divided into two parts. There is a working class and there is a capitalist class. In other words, there is a bourgeois and there is a proletariat. As per the Marxist, everything in the society is controlled by the bourgeois, by the capitalist. Religion, education, economic system, politics, every single thing in the society is in control of the capitalist class. And without the working class getting their due, there will never be justice and fairness in the society. So in short, the Marxist thinkers were critical of his idea of wheel of ignorance. Because remember what wheel of ignorance said? Wheel of ignorance said that before making a law, before making a policy, you should be entirely unaware of what is happening in the society. You should forget about what the society is about. You should forget everything about yourself and then make a law. This is where the Marxists say that without remembering the economic conditions, there cannot be any just law. In order to rectify the problems in the system, first you have to look at what are the problems, which are the economic conditions. Without them, you cannot have any fair law. And that is why Marxists are critics of the wheel of ignorance, because they said that wheel of ignorance is detrimental to our interests. It's detrimental to any policy that can be just, that can be fair. Even those who follow the theory of liberalism, even they have been against what John Rawls had said. Why? The liberal thinkers argue that John Rawls has sacrificed liberty for equality. Again, the liberal thinkers think that Rawls has gone towards the socialist camp. Why? He talks about equality of everything. He talks about distribution of goods in such a manner that those who are at a disadvantaged position should get the benefit out of it. In other words, he is not really talking about the man's caliber to earn how much money he or she can. He is talking about the fact that everyone should be given equal rights. This is what people following the theory of liberalism do not like. They want everyone according to their own wants, or everyone according to their own efforts. As per the people who follow the theory of liberalism, why is it that people who have worked hard, who have earned all that money, who have opened up industries, who have become rich, why should they be forced to give money to the other people for the sake of equality? Imagine Mr. Ambani, Mr. Adani saying that I have earned all that money due to my hard work. Now you want to have equal distribution of wealth. Why? I will not support that. They would obviously say that this is my own hard-earned money. Why am I supposed to give this to anyone else? If someone else wants this money, let them work hard. So the people who have been following the theory of liberalism, they believe that John Rawls is unfairly targeting them. John Rawls is unfairly taking away money from them just to give to people who are at a disadvantaged position. Why should anyone force those who have become rich because of their own efforts to give away their wealth, to give away what they have earned? And that is a criticism that liberal thinkers have of John Rawls. Now the interesting part is, beyond all that criticism of John Rawls, there are other views which say that John Rawls' theory, if you look very closely, is actually a mix and match of everything. There's a bit of liberalism, there's a bit of socialism, there's a bit of capitalism, all of that have come together. How? First, his theory is in line with liberalism because he allows the lawmakers to be free to make their own laws by bringing them to the original position. He is not forcing them to make a law in a certain manner. He is not saying that the law should be made for the advantage of a certain section of the society. He did not say that. He just said that while making a law, you should be free from any misconception, you should be free from any idea about the society. He is just saying that you should go back to the original position so that you are free, you are liberal to make your own law. So he is subscribing to the liberal point of view. Secondly, if you look at the first principle of John Rawls, in the first principle he very clearly says that the right of liberty, freedom of liberty should be given to each and everyone. I'll just take you back. See the first principle. Liberty should be given to each and everyone. Liberty of expression, liberty of religion, equality before law, all of these are basic which are meant for everyone. So the liberal thinkers can't accuse John Rawls of going against the concept of liberalism because he has upheld this in his very first principle. He is also a bit of egalitarian. Egalitarian means someone who believes in equality. He is egalitarian because he believes in equal liberty for everyone. And again, he talks about fair equality of opportunity. He talks about the fact that everyone should have the right to make a better life for themselves. He talks about the fact that the weakest link in the society needs the most support. And this is not just for them. This is not just for one single community. This is for everyone in the society. Because the entire society is only as strong as the weakest link in the society. Remember the chain theory? This is where John Rawls can also be said to be an egalitarian thinker. If you can see, as I told you, almost every single year you have a question from the theory of justice given by John Rawls. Now there are very interesting questions. In some of them you will see specifically John Rawls' theory is being asked. In some of the others there is a comparison that is asked. For example, Ambedkar's idea of egalitarian justice compared to Rawls' theory, comparative assessment of Greek perspective of justice given by Plato or Aristotle by the Rawls concept of justice. Then there are questions on distributive justice, justification of discrimination. All of these are questions which can be very easily solved based on whatever we have just discussed in this lecture. I would really advise you to write at least one or two answers. And if you want, I can also check your answers. All that you have to do is mail me the answers to this email ID. You can ask any other doubts about your PSIR preparation or general UPSC preparation as well on this email ID. and I'll be sure to respond very, very soon. Thank you so much. Make sure that you do hit the subscribe button, like this lecture, and also in the comment section let me know what are the other topics on which you would like me to make a video. Thank you so much. Have a good day ahead. Bye bye. Jai Hind.